Third time's the charm, right? Hi, hello, how are you? How has your week been? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my summer reading wrap-up. So basically, rather than doing monthly wrap-ups, as I'm getting my channel started, I decided just to do a summer reading wrap-up. So it's gonna be from today all the way back to the beginning of June. So the first book that I read this summer, I started it, I think May 31st, but June 1st counts, right? Was this book, which, please ignore how the front looks, but City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare, the 5th book in the Mortal Instruments series. I'm not gonna do a super in-depth review on that because I already have a video up of my whole experience reading that series and stuff. So I have on my Goodreads that I rated it a 4 stars, but I am currently in the process of refining my star rating system, and so I think really that book is a 3.5 star. And then the next book that I read, of course, was City of Heavenly Fire, the 6th and final book in the Mortal Instruments series. This one I also gave a 3.5 stars. Then the next book that I read, I don't have here with me, but it is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. Now, I absolutely loved this book. I included it in my current 6-star reads. It's just 6 out of 5 stars. That should say a lot. Even now, after I'm switching around my star ratings, it's still a 6-star read. After I read The Bodyguard, I started reading the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black. I really struggled to get into it. Since this book was so hyped up, I was truly not expecting it to be so political. It was so politics heavy. I gave it a 3 stars. I'm still gonna be reading the rest of the trilogy because I have a box set, so. The next books that I read were for my Reading Emily Henry for a Week reading vlog. So I rated Book Lovers 4.5 stars. Then I read Beach Read and I rated it 5 stars. And then I read Happy Place and I rated it 5 stars. I think out of the 3 of them, Beach Read would have to be my favorite. Then we went ahead and did my reading vlog of rereading the Hunger Games series. So obviously I read them in order, but I rated all of them 5 stars. So if you want to see this is the first time I'd read them since I was in middle school. So if you want to see my full thoughts on that, go watch that video. After I read The Hunger Games, I read Better Than the Movies, which is another read that I included in my current 6-star reads, so it's a 6 stars. I absolutely loved it. This has now made Lynn Painter a new auto-author for me. After I read Better Than the Movies, I read These Violent Delights, which I was honestly expecting to like more than I did. It is a Romeo and Juliet retelling that takes place in the 1920s in Shanghai, of 2 mafia heirs, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. It just was not my favorite. I did it 2 stars. And funny enough, as I was I think I was a quarter of the way into this book, and I saw on Goodreads that my roommate had just added this book to her want to read list. And so I commented on that update and was at this point in time, I personally wouldn't recommend. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, it's just not my favorite right now. And she was like, Jess, I just bought the book. I was like, oh, ha ha ha, sorry. Awkward. After I read These Violent Delights, I read Love and Other Words, which was the first book. I finished my reading it for 24 hours straight. Personally, I just was not a fan of I don't know what this word does not accurately describe what I'm trying to say, but I didn't appreciate the graphic nature. I can't figure out a better word for what I'm trying to say. The graphic nature of their conversations that they were having when they were in high school, and that just really turned me off of this book, so it's a 2.5 stars. Then after that, I read everybody's favorite The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and of course that was a 6-star read, like obviously, like everybody loves that book and I love that book. Just saw the video that Rebecca Yarros uploaded on TikTok showcasing like the first copy that she's gotten of Iron Flame and how it's like bigger than Fourth Wing. So November 7th cannot come soon enough. Like truthfully, like I just cannot wait for Iron Flame. After I read Fourth Wing, I got into a little bit of a book hangover, but I was able to get out of it pretty quickly. I read, because the next book I picked up, which was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This was a recommendation by a friend, but it did take me a little over a week to read this, but that is much better than the last book hangover I was in, which was after I finished reading The Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. That one lasted about a month, so it is good that it only took me a week to read this. But I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. This book was the first book I have read that is like classified as a horror novel, even though I personally didn't find it that scary. But I really enjoyed reading it. It's obviously about a book club in the South that has an encounter with slaying vampires. It follows a lot of like 80s housewife life and drama. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I will definitely be reading more books by Grady Hendrix. The only thing that I think like took away from this book was it had some really aggressive time jumps. Like you go into the book, you have like the prologue, and then, but it wasn't a prologue because it was the first chapter. And then immediately it's like 3 years later and you're like, what? And then like a really big plot point happened like in the middle of the book, and it was like, and then that chapter ended, and then it was like 3 years later and you're like, I'm sorry, come again? Like 3 years later right now? Seriously? Really? The last book that I read this summer was The Wicked King, which is obviously the second book in the Folk of the Air trilogy. This one, I feel like I kind of got into it quicker than I did The Cruel Prince. It still was very, very, very politics heavy. Like, I don't know why this trilogy is like advertised as like a romantasy, because it really isn't. I give this book a 3.5 stars, which is a 1/2 star higher than The Cruel Prince. Anyways, guys, those are the 15 books that I read this summer. I am in the process of reading a lot more. So now I will be getting into monthly reading wrap-ups, which will start at the beginning of October. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, like, I think this is like the 3rd video I've posted this week, which is like insane, but do not be expecting that from me for like every week, because that's not happening. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're like feeling up to it or something. Anyways, I hope y'all have a fantastic week, and I will see you on Saturday. Bye.